Good morning. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. It is July 24th, 2024. I'm your host, Adam Blue, longtime video game enthusiast, 30 plus year video game enthusiast. I have so much to talk about. Or do I have a lot to talk about? Well, I didn't play too many games yesterday, and I think there's multiple reasons for that. One is I played a lot of games over the weekend. So then as the work day work week sort of starts, then it depends when I get off work. Like, for some reason, work this week has been super busy. So, when I got off work Monday, I think I played a little bit of VR and talked about that. Yesterday, I had a video for another channel I was working on, and it was something new and different I hadn't really done before, and it required me a lot of seeing how it would work out and then realizing, oh, I messed this up, so I got to redo all this anyway. I ended up going to bed about 2 hours later than my normal bedtime, which is fine. I like to get good sleep because then it energizes me through the day. And it's interesting because I kind of feel a little energized, even though I went to sleep almost 2 hours later than normal. But it's interesting. What happened was, by the time I went upstairs to go to sleep, my wife was already asleep. And so the TV was off. And that's one thing. I'm not the type to watch the TV when I go to sleep. So once I got up to bed, I just went to sleep. There was none of the screen getting at me. And so it was easy to wake up at my normal time. Very strange. So, I mean, not that that's strange. I know that there's sometimes negative effects to having a TV on when you're going to sleep. And I tend to also not use my phone. Maybe for a second here or there to check something, prepare for tomorrow, but I don't scroll through my phone when I sleep. Just I've learned it makes it harder to wake up, and I realize that my sleep quality is one of the number one factors that impact how I feel throughout the day. So, yeah, that's that. So, what did I get into yesterday? So, I just played a little bit of VR, and it was the Crytek climbing game, which is actually very impressive. It was just the way it controlled and you moved around. It was really neat. I don't know if it could hold my attention for long, but it was fun. Also, anything else? I'm trying to think if there's even anything else I got into. Oh, you know what? I did buy for the Quest 3, and it actually came in the mail yesterday, are grips for the controller. It's interesting how much that standard Quest 3 controller seems small and slippery, and it feels like I can't really grip it. And maybe that's done on purpose. Maybe it's done to be easy for younger people to play, because I think the market is probably larger for a younger audience. Just the way I've seen it having kids. And the grip I got are these, it's rubber grips that really help give it, because there's a lot of times when you're playing the VR game where you have to open your hands or close your hands for something. And so how these handles, actually, let me grab one real quick. And so how they work is, one, it looks nice. It has a really nice texture to it. Oh man, what is the brand? Oh, here we go. Kiwi. That's right. Kiwi is the name of the brand and I just read, this was recommended. So I wonder if it's going to show kind of barely. Yeah, you can see that there. This is really good quality. This isn't some sort of cheap, 20 companies on Amazon have the same product. This, the grip is really good. And what I really like is this strap here, what I was talking about. So I can when I'm playing VR, I can open my hands to relax, or how there's some things where if even with the strap on, if I was playing a game where I had to keep my hands out and open, it's I'd have to, kind of do it like this or something, or I don't know, but I feel like this is almost a requirement having this. Interesting that there's a little hole on the side. I don't know what that does. But anyway, the neat thing about this that I think is the main, other than the fact that this is super nice quality, is that it has the battery cover as part of the rubber here. And it was a set for $15. Also, it came with this replaceable battery cover that has the hole here so that you could then open this up, but it also comes with like a little built-in tab so you can easily pull out the battery. So they went all out thinking about how people would use this, and I got to say this is a game changer. This should be included as part of the build of the controller, but I understand, accessories are another way to make money, and it's good to see third-party companies like jump in and give alternatives. And yeah, this definitely 100%. So Kiwi is the name of the brand. I don't even know what it's saying underneath there, but just search for Kiwi Quest 3 grips. Yeah, this is amazing. Next thing I want to do is those little thumb caps that I use. I think these are smaller than the, I'd love to put something on, but ooh, even that feels really good. Actually, this is a Gamester thumbstick cap. I love Gamester products, and it's a little too big, but I love the height it gave. I have other ones like for the Switch, and this looks more like even smaller than a Switch thumbstick. So I'll see if it has grips there. I think just being so comfortable playing a game where you don't have to stress any muscle in any finger, because it could be that the way your hands are, you might end up using more of your pinky to grip, or you might be the type where you're always using the inside of your thumb and your finger to hold. It's things to think about to make your gaming sessions a lot more pleasurable, is to get that right feel. That's how I, use normal controllers. Here's a custom one. Even the stuff for the Quest 3. So yeah, and it's very interesting how, my youngest has used Quest 2 for so long since it's been out, and he plays it all the time, almost every day. And he played Half-Life Alyx, and he said that was on the Quest 3, and he said that was nothing like anything that he's played. So it's pretty interesting, the big difference between the Quest 2 and the Quest 3. All right, let's maybe jump into some news real quick. Let's see, and then on the side is like something I got to do for work, so I'm just paying attention. But anyway, let's see here. What was something? There's some interesting news I saw, but I hadn't read it yet. So let's read it together. Humble Games announced restructuring, layoff entire publishing team. So all 36 employees of Humble Games Publishing have reportedly been laid off, according to business developer Nicola Kwan. Staff were informed at 9 a.m. this morning and told the company is shutting down. Humble dispute this in a statement made to game developer, claiming that publishing label is undergoing restructuring as opposed to a full shutdown. Okay. Humble's statement, which you can read in full here, attributes the event, to challenging economic times for indie games publishing. Yeah, it's very interesting that the position Humble was able to put themselves in, where they first come out, where it's like, hey, donate a certain amount of money, you get so many amount of games. That was awesome, and it like turned into a store. And just having that platform in order to deliver games opens up the opportunity for them to do publishing. It's almost like the sweet spot where it's this like indie realm of that, right? Which, yeah, it's unfortunate that they're going through this, but it seems like from the way they're wording it, the restructuring, they're still going to be doing publishing, but it's challenging times. I think this is just another example, but maybe a more thought out example of times are changing. What can we do to, prepare our company for the future? So yeah, that's I didn't know the details on this, but reading it doesn't seem so bad, and it seems like they've kind of got a plan. So Aftermath report that former employees told them that Humble Games had not signed any projects for 2026 or 2027. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, hopefully those people that did get laid off find new jobs, and hopefully Humble can somehow figure out how to keep doing what they're doing. All right. And then real quick, just to look at this, because there's not too much time left in the month, although this is just going by this week. Let's see. So a game called Conscript, that's a survival horror, came out yesterday. And a few other games, but I guess the big main one on this list that I'm even interested in trying is Earth Defense Force 6. Let's see. It's PS4, PS5, PC, not Xbox. And yeah, that's interesting. So when it just that other article we were just looking at, thinking about when companies are trying to be smart about their spending right now, I wonder how easy it is for them to just say, yeah, we're not going to develop on Xbox. I mean, how much money are they saving versus how much potential is there? I don't know. I feel like there's so much more to it than I realize, and it might be cultural because this is a Japanese game. But anyway, I'm really curious to try this out because I've played the other ones. They're pretty fun. They are too simple. Like I've never spent my time actually playing through and beating any of them because they are just kind of simple. It's like I get it after a while. I wish there was a way to kind of like keep me going. So yeah, I want to try this out to see if they add any new cool things to it. Let's see. What was the other? Yeah, let's look at this. I'm not too sure what's going on here. So press X to skip. It's time we retired the video game cutscene. So yeah, let's see. At the close, Metal Gear Solid 4 spoilers just after Snake pulverizes Liquid Ocelot, there is a series of cutscenes that never ends. Well, that's not strictly true. It does end after 71 minutes. It's just that I've never watched that far. I understand what the game director's Hideo Kojima is a committed cinephile who has drawn much of his inspiration from movies, but I don't care. Those are minutes of my life I'll never get back. I also don't care for the 20-minute cinematic sequences dotted through Xenoblade Chronicles or Final Fantasy, or seemingly the hundreds of non-interactive scenes detailing every single plot point in the Assassin's Creed adventures. It's needlessly aggressive to rob the player of agency, then bully them into paying attention for prolonged periods. I think it's time we retired the whole convention. So, like, while I agree 100% with this, part of me is like, I've learned that there's completely different types of gamers. Growing up, I remember I would be talking about, the games that I would be playing, for instance, like Command & Conquer. Like, growing up, when Command & Conquer was out, maybe one or two other people I heard mention the game, but no one was super into it. And I think, Neighbor, we played a lot. But a lot of times when I'd be in casual instances of conversation with people out, when I was younger, the discussion would always be, I remember especially when I got my first job, it would always be about like RPGs, story-based RPGs. People were just more about like the Final Fantasy VII and like Chrono Trigger or stuff that's just, a lot of dialogue, cutscenes. And I was just like, I mean, I guess that's cool, but I just want to be able to play. So, by the time I'm at the age I'm at now, I realize, that's like The Last of Us and like these walking simulators, like they actually provide an experience for people that are looking for that. It's just for me when it comes to video games, it's like cutscenes are cool if it's like a quick, yeah, give me some story, sure, maybe show something cool with the tech, but otherwise, don't rob me of the age. Don't have it where I don't have to use the controller. This is what the game was designed for. If I'm not using it, what am I doing? But I get it. So let's move on. The origins of video game cutscenes are both technical and situational. In the 90s, games simply couldn't render scenes in real time. And besides that, a lot of gaming's narrative talent came from film, and they were using the tools they knew. This interestingly mirrors the evolution of cinema. From the 1920s to early 1930s, narrative cinema was heavily inspired by the theater. This made sense because the early film industry drew most of its talent, actors, directors, writers, technical crew, from the stage, and these people brought their techniques with them. Wow, that's very interesting. And even when I'm watching, I don't know, cinema shows, movies, I don't know, that are older, a lot of times you can see how the actors are acting and moving in a shot is very similar to how theater would be, where you might have two characters talking to each other, but they're kind of facing, the camera, but then kind of talking like this. You would get a lot of that. And so that's interesting to think that early cinema was influenced by theater. And I can see how then storytelling in video games would be influenced by how it's done in movies and TV, since that's kind of the only example we have right now. Sorry, just checking some work stuff, just in case, because I have a busy day at work. Okay, and let's see. Cameras tended to be static with long takes between cuts, viewing the action like an audience member. They were filmed on purpose, built sets rather than on location. Acting was somewhat mannered and histrionic because performers were used to exaggerating their movements and emotions so that the people 18 rows back could see them. Early movie audiences were familiar with stage conventions too, so using them helped ease them into the cinematic experience. But as cinema advanced as its own medium, new and intimate methods of storytelling emerged, thanks in part to the to the invention of the dolly and crane. The camera transformed from an audience member to a moving observer within the world. Actors realized they could communicate in tiny gestures and facial expressions. That reminds me of like how Daniel Craig pulled off James Bond. It was he had like micro expressions. It was very interesting. From German Expressionism to French New Wave to the American auteur cinema of the 1970s, wild new narrative techniques emerged and a whole wealth of film-specific lighting, directing design, and special effects conventions developed alongside. The medium came into its own. This process is happening in games too. We see it in the increasingly sophisticated disciplines of environmental storytelling, UX, UI, and narrative design. Yet for a medium that's all about interactivity and immersion, we sure are clinging on hard to the cutscene. We are clinging on hard to the cutscene. Okay. If we look at some of the biggest, most moving narrative games over the past 5 years, The Last of Us, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, most of the emotional moments are happening in non-interactive filmic sequences. The controls taken from us. Like children, we cannot be trusted to take part. We're required to just sit and watch the show. And I think part of that is trying to get more people into video games by tapping into what people like from movies and TV. Wow, this goes on for a while. I might have to read the rest of this later because I just find this interesting. Not that there's some end result, but it's just interesting to talk about storytelling in games from the point of removing agency from the player. I just saw something here. The works of From Software provide an excellent example of this in terms of probably the better way to do cutscenes. There are cutscenes, but they are short and usually serve to introduce a new enemy or show the player a moment in which the world has reacted to them. Otherwise, the narrative is conjured simply by moving through these wild Gothic landscapes. As a writer and historian, Holly Nielsen expressed on X recently, I've put about 300 hours in Elden Ring. I cannot tell you a single thing about the world, characters, or story other than vague vibes. Yeah, very interesting stuff, right? I feel like, again, this is interesting for me because of how much I like video games and how much I see games that are super popular that don't necessarily have the best mechanics, but they just have like this cool story. And there are different markets. There are separate markets. So that really does exist. Oh my gosh, here's this dude. Hey, Zekagula. Hello. Help. Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully everything's good. Let's see this. Midnight Hatter cutscenes can also offer pacing control. Mark Brown did a video about the importance of quiet time in video games. Yeah, that is a good point. Pacing control. That's where it could come in good. Like after like a crazy insane boss battle, or let's say moving through a level and right before a boss battle, there could be a little moment of that where it kind of like the player kind of getting out of the zone of one to transition into the next. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, Jan KLX is saying Xeno's Saga cutscenes are very noteworthy for their length. Okay, that's interesting. All right. So what is next? One thing, and I don't know if we're necessarily going to get to it here. This is stuff that I would stumble upon late last night and early this morning. This had to do with Assassin's Creed. So that whole thing, I wasn't too sure what's going on. So what happened was, this is now another example of outrage. Assassin's Creed comes out, this new thing gets announced. People complain about it like people do. And I guess enough people either complained to a Japanese audience, or within a young Japanese audience, we're going to find the same type of young people here in the West that use social media, where sometimes they feel that there's this injustice when something isn't being represented And so then they call that out. And I guess what happened was that enough people were complaining about this Assassin's Creed game not being completely accurate to Japanese history. And so, Ubisoft gave an apology. But then I guess this government ministry in Japan responded just saying, we don't care if you do, mess around with historical fiction for a story. Like, this kind of goes back to the problem is that too many media outlets, influencers, just give too much credibility to anyone that complains about anything online. Like, this year has been riddled with that, where it just takes over the news and what people want to talk about. On the surface, I'm like, oh, is there something interesting going on? And it's like, no, there's not. This happened with Pal World. People were claiming that the Pal World devs were using AI, and they were getting all this shit online about it. Come to find out, they weren't. But someone claimed online it looks like it's AI, and then that's even the discussion. Why are we complaining if someone's? But see, that's not the point. It's this outrage that happens, and it's very funny how it happens, what effects it has. Like with Helldivers 2, when it was required that PSN was needed, and there was all this outrage to the point where Sony said they'd fix it, but then they actually didn't. And so when Sony said they'd fix it, then the outrage was gone, and then they actually didn't. And the outrage just went away. And none of this stuff is ever consistent. It's like drive-by virtue signaling, where at the end of the day, you're just causing noise, drama, hurting people. Yeah. So it's just kind of funny that this year, I think more than any other year, it's like we see something being called out as an injustice, which it's not. It's more of someone's maybe incorrect take on the manner, like AI being in Pal World or whatever. And then people kind of quickly, it's almost like there's this balance where there's backlash to that, of people going like, wait a minute, what are you saying? This isn't true. And then people can go on with their lives. But there's that annoying little period. The same thing happened with the PlayStation, Xbox, or Xbox exclusives, and then like going to PlayStation, people like, oh, Xbox is going to be done. And then all this, oh my God, for weeks. That's what people were talking about all the time. This Assassin's Creed thing is just another example. So, I mean, I would say that if just for your mental health, if you come across someone being outraged about something online, or that's like the news, like, oh, so-and-so did this, it's probably best just to ignore it, because it's just filler. It's just filler for people that don't have anything interesting to talk about. And I'm sure there's stuff that could be learned from that, these, cross culture, because a lot of it's cultural. Even if it's within a culture, it could be, identity. And I think it's rooted in truth and honesty and people wanting some justice. But I think it's almost getting to this like censorship style thing, where it's like, oh, but if you say something like this, we're going to call you out and try to cancel you. It's pretty insane. Okay, so yeah, this is so I read this: average age of people in gaming industry continues to rise. I would think that just would happen, right? I mean, it's a very young industry. There's people that, a lot of first-time devs, 80s and 90s, are going to be older right now. So, yeah. Water's wet? I don't know. Maybe there's more to that article. I just read the headline. So, yeah, Mario and Rabbids lead Davide Soliani has left Ubisoft. I think this was the guy that really did something interesting by creating Nintendo games with Ubisoft characters. And that's not like Nintendo's good at that, like working with other companies for games, but it was really neat how Ubisoft went about it, because they were able to combine their characters with Nintendo characters. So I'm hoping this guy's new adventures may be doing something at Nintendo, or this is just a good example of some neat, unique things you can do. Can't say I played those Mario Rabbids games, but I heard good things. All right. New multiverse content for Barbie and others found in Datamine. Hey, it's cool we're still hearing about multiverse. Will I play it? I don't know. Activision reportedly used AI-generated skins to sell in Call of Duty 3. I don't know what I think about that. I just think if it's something that looks cool, and someone wants to pay for it, that's cool. Sometimes AI can generate things I've never thought about, or interpret what I'm trying to think in ways I never thought about it. In fact, I'm actually, hold on, let me see. So I'm going to be doing a thing for work today related to AI, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is coming to Xbox Game Pass on August 8th. It's claimed. Oh, that's cool. I mean, forgetting if that was Activision at the time. I think it was. This is more in line with what we should be expecting from Microsoft, so I'm glad we're seeing it. Modern Warfare 3 on Game Pass. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy coming to Game Pass. It's really good to have more of these mascot platformers. I just hope we hear more about the Marvel stuff. But I heard that it's going to be like trickling, like a bunch of Activision stuff. It's going to be trickling out. Let's see. Nintendo revokes win of Splatoon 3 World Championship victors jackpot after misconduct allegations. Oh, that's too bad. Oh, Shadows of the Damned Hella remastered release date confirmed. October 31st. $24.99. Wow. And interesting. I wonder if this is an Xbox game. I mean, in terms of an exclusive. Oh, I just heard sound like a phone battery die, but I don't know what that could be. Let's see. No, I think that's about it. Nothing, crazy else going on here. Wait, what? Nintendo's new Gashapon toys can be used as extra parts for real controllers? That's amazing. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, that does it for today. Hope that was some interesting stuff. There was a few interesting things, not too much. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow. You know what? I might not do it. Okay, so it might not be live tomorrow, but I will have an episode up tomorrow because I actually have to do something at this time. Yeah, so there'll still be an episode tomorrow, just not live. But anyway, all thanks for watching, and we'll talk later. See y'all.